Hey, it's Chaya here with Naked, back with another episode of the Messy Middle Edition. And today I want to talk about my biggest critic. I'm guessing you're familiar with it because you probably have it too. My greatest critic is not my mom, not my dad, though it's a spin-off of them. It's not the teachers who made fun of me or said different things, like you're never gonna make it, or if you don't do this. Not my siblings. The biggest critic is the one that looks back in the mirror. And you probably know what I'm talking about too. Do you know that sinking feeling when it's like, oh my God, I should have known better? Or, oh my God, how could I have done that? Or, if you do that, you know what's going to happen, right? Do you know that sinking feeling that comes when that voice shows up? Whose voice is that? See, I spend a lot of time running from that voice. Running and running and running. Until I've decided to stop. And I'm not going to say it's easy, because now that voice, it can be really tough on me. And there are times where I listen to it and I believe it. But that voice isn't me. It sounds like me, it looks like me, it really knows me, but it isn't me. Because you know what? My morals aren't about beating yourself up. My morals aren't about threatening. My morals are all about love and kindness and compassion. Yet that voice, the one that sounds like me, it isn't doing any of that. It isn't practicing any of that. And it took me a while to recognize that the reason for that is because growing up, no one taught me another way. That's the way I was taught. Everything was threats. Everything was, we have unconditional love. That was our saying in the house. But if you don't do this, then, and if you don't do that, but we'll still love you, but we won't do this, that, the other with you. And it's crazy because that voice will say stuff like that to me. Like, I always will love you, but when I look at you in the mirror right now, I can't understand why or how you would tell me how that's love. That's not what love's all about. And the reason I'm going right there is because, and I know I'm going in the right direction because of the way I'm feeling inside, it's because, I don't know, I feel like we need to know this. I feel like most of us haven't been briefed about this, and we're not taught this. We're not taught to understand that whatever we grew up with, we have that in our head. You had however many years you were at home. So for me, it was like 17 years of training of how to beat yourself up, how to threaten yourself, and a bunch of other things, which I'm not going to talk about at this moment. But I had 17 years to prepare for that. And then when I was on my own and they were long, far gone, that's exactly how I acted to myself. That's my relationship with myself, because that's what I was trained. There's a lot of studies on this for like people who were kidnapped, So first off, there's Stockholm syndrome, where you start to create a connection with the person who kidnapped you, who like abducted you, and which can sound insane, but it's actually true, because the brain is trying to make understand a situation that's that crazy, so it'll find a way to create a relationship so it makes sense. And then once you've done that, what you're really doing on another note is you're making whatever he's doing totally okay, which means that however he's treating you becomes okay. So growing up, is it that crazy to think that you would also find ways to explain and make it right whatever your parents did, even if they were alcoholics, abusive, fearful people who feared everything and instilled that in you, even if they shamed you, if they beat you? Is it that crazy to think that, hey, like, I was a kid, this was my parent, and if I was even abducted, I would find a way to make those people right? Not everyone, but possibly with enough time, pretty much everyone will. So, especially as kids, if you take a kid, you abduct them with enough time, the kid will create a relationship with the person who abducted them because that's how they survive. So is it that crazy to realize that you did that for your parents? Now you might have amazing, amazing parents, and if yeah, then I'm really glad for you. But if your parents aren't people you want to act like or be like, then my question to you is like this right now. If you made them right as a kid, and you did that to survive, you did that so you could have food and a roof over your head, what's to stop you now from continuing what they started? What's to stop you now from treating yourself the way they treated you? Now this is the hard truth and it's painful truth, and I can feel how it feels in my body. It doesn't feel very good. Because right now there's a part of me that's like, just run. Just run as fast as you can and never come back. And I'm just recognizing that part and noticing it, and I'm sorry you're scared. And if you want to tell us something, I want to invite you right now to talk. Oh, this makes me tired. I see you really want to shut down. Wow, my body's not happy about this conversation. Okay, I'll take it a little slower. The most important thing I really want to impress on you today is the fact that it's actually very understandable, and there is room for compassion to the part of you that has been treating you the way it has, that has been treating you maybe less than the way you want to be treated. There's so much understanding that can be found if you want for the child who went through whatever you went through as a child. And even if you had beautiful, amazing parents, there was certain stuff that they did that weren't up to par. It's just the way it is. We're supposed to pick up from where our parents left off and keep going, right? So there's certain things that they did, even if it was small things, and we made it okay just to survive, right? Just to get past that stage. And you may not have consciously realized you were doing it for survival, because you made it that okay that it felt okay. Okay, I'm getting too much resistance to keep going. I just want to take a moment and honor my body that's done so much for me, that's held so much for me, that keeps on holding things. And I got the message. You see, as a kid, I was, as I've been saying the last few sessions, finally, openly, I was sexually abused. And I made it okay. I made it okay because I didn't know how to survive otherwise. So I made it okay and pretty much made believe it didn't even happen. I put it behind such big walls that I couldn't remember. I could never remember. The closer we got to it, the more harsh I became, to make sure that no one ever gets me back there. No one reminds me. But what happened inside instead was that it became okay for me to be sexually abused. It became okay because I would just hide it and we won't see it and we won't remember, so then there's nothing that we have to worry about. The only difference is that as I became the more sexually abused I was, the less I could hide and run from it. And every story made it harder and harder and more painful and more PTSD and more fear and more turned me into someone that was so traumatized. I was afraid of my own shadow. And today I want to tell you, whatever you made okay as a kid, you sure as hell are going to face as an adult. Because you're standard. And you're not to blame. I'm not to blame. I was a little girl. I didn't choose it. but because it became okay for me to survive. It had to become okay for me what happened. In my adult years, I was sexually abused multiple times because it was okay for me. So what have you made okay throughout your childhood? What have you made okay that really isn't okay? And you made it okay just to survive. It's time to take back the reins of your life. It's time to take it back and stop making okay the things that you no longer need to survive and start actually living life. Are you ready for that? Let's do this. All right, like and subscribe. I'll see you soon.